Praise be, bitches. It is I, InsaneLayne, and we have done it. We have reached episode 10, Night of Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale. What am I gonna do until season 2? We start in the past in the very first moments of June and some other women being brought to the Rachel and Leah Center.
All right, single line, please. Boy, look at these outfits. It's a parade of sluts. Take your hands out of your pocket. Did I say run, you in the vest?
We get a first look at handmaids in full dress and at electrocution. For what reason she got electrocuted, I don't know, probably just as a show of force. We see a bit of Aunt Lydia's dark side as she's a real bitch to June here.
How do we humble ourselves? Wonderful. I'm sorry, Aunt Lydia.
I'm sorry, Aunt Lydia.
Lydia.
Sorry, Aunt Lydia.
But it fits perfectly with the character. She respects handmaids. But these women are not handmaids yet. They are unrepentant sluts and whores. So she has no respect for them. We then step into the world of Saw for a moment. They had to work hard to make this as creepy as possible. Why are there no lights on anywhere? Why are they using an air compressor that big? And why cow tags? I know I said this in the overview, but really, there are so many better ways to tag and track people than this. This is not only old-fashioned, it's of extremely questionable usage and highly inefficient.
This will be painful, I am sorry to say. But you are so very precious, I wouldn't want to lose you.
They could totally do this painlessly. I mean, hell, girls pierce their ears using ice cubes all the time. They could at least do that. But no, they want it to hurt. They want this to be as terrifying and unsettling as possible. They need this to be a lasting memory, that look on their faces, like she says, that terror. Pain, torture, and death are really the only controls the government of Gilead has over the populace. It's founded on nothing. It's rife with internal strife and conflict and hypocrisy, and it ultimately stands for nothing. The only control they have is fear and...
Now you only gotta scare them.
Pain is scary.
June's internal monologue has gone beyond reckless and into dangerous now.
They should have never given us uniforms if they didn't want us to be an army.
What's in the package? And that's later too. And for the best. Can't draw too much attention to it. Best to hide it away and go back to it later.
I trusted you. I tried to help you.
She has damn near lost her mind here. She can't confront her husband, at least not yet. And we know that the wives kind of secretly think that all the handmaids are sluts and homewreckers who are trying to seduce the men. As much bullshit as that is, men are blameless in this society. Everything is the woman's fault. Look at the way Fred has talked to Serena Joy, and what he will say later in this very episode. Can't get pregnant? Oh, you're unworthy, woman. God is punishing you for your sin of being a woman. Men are nearly untouchable. Nearly. More on that later as well. But she is pissed off and probably about to do something horrible, like having Offred sent to the colonies. But there is one thing Serena Joy wants more than anything else, and she will overlook and forgive anything because she is so desperate. Almost feel sorry for her in this moment. But June will get to live for now, as blessed be she is knocked up. Serena Joy is not finished. She is indeed going to have it out with her hubby.
Is everything all right?
I think he knows right away that he's busted, but he's not giving it up just yet. No, he'll try to brush her off by saying, he's got man work to do, Martha's be plotting, and you just run along, dear, make me some sandwiches. Here we must remember that above all, when it comes to the commander, he's a dick.
You brought lust and temptation back into this house. If I've sinned, then you led me to it.
Okay, strap on, buckle up, put on a helmet, incoming. Look, Commander asshole, she didn't make you do anything. You had lustful thoughts about the other woman. You invited her to play Scrabble. You, ass clown, got the dress. You got the makeup. You held the mirror in your voyeuristic, disgusting, slimy fashion while she put on the makeup. You, Fred Waterford, then smuggled the like unto a virgin into the whorehouse to fuck her. That is all on you, you smug, arrogant, condescending, not as smart as you think you are, small dick-having, sterile bastard.
It isn't yours. You're weak. And God would never let you pass on that weakness.
For now, it's breakfast time, and Rita is back to her weird giddiness, meaning she knows. This is very telling, because how does she know? Yes, somebody could have told her off screen, but I don't think so. I think it's safe to assume Rita knows pretty much everything that goes on in that house. More on that later. Then Nick comes in, and I guess story-wise we had to have this scene, but I so wanted to fast-forward my way through it. The only thing I liked about it was, because I believe that will come into play next season, Serena Joy is no fool. If she hasn't already, she's gonna figure out that Nick and Jude have been having a relationship, and she's gonna find a way to use that. And I really want to see what happens to Nick when she does. But for now, she has sinister plans to get to.
We have a long drive ahead, so get comfortable.
We finally see Moira after who knows how many days, and she's made it. I have to say, I screamed at the TV as soon as I saw Yours to Discover, because being from Ontario, I know what that's on, and I was just like, yes! Yes, girl, she has made it to freedom, safety, hope, woo! Of course, this great joy must be balanced with great evil, and I knew this was gonna be just the worst as soon as she took her knitting needles with her.
Please let me out, that's my daughter! No! Let me out! Anna! Let me out!
This is some seriously evil shit right here. Take a woman who has not seen her child in years and make her watch through the window. So close, yet so far, and the child is completely unaware. Some other things in here too. How did Serena Joy find Hannah? How does she even know Hannah exists? Or where she's being kept? But more on that later, because now it is time for the cursing out that has been building all season. And you could feel what was coming. That one word you are never supposed to say, but it is oh so appropriate here.
You are a goddamn motherfucking monster! Sadistic, motherfucking evil cunt!
I couldn't have put it better myself. And now for the evils of men, and this time it's against one another. This is a nice bit of bookend to the season opener, which also featured a man being punished, but in a very different way. This is someone high-ranking, this is someone influential from the inner circle. And he's just been caught doing what so many of them have been doing, and are doing now. Most of the guys sitting up there are probably guilty of this exact same thing, and I love Fred here. Good old Commander Waterford. He's just willing to brush this right along, right under the rug.
But who amongst us hasn't made mistakes? And who amongst us doesn't have an afternoon of work piling up as we sit here?
I loved watching him in this scene. Like, I need some popcorn and some Junior Mints because I am going to enjoy your discomfort, you smug-ass, sanctimonious, hypocritical, rot-in-hell bastard. Best of all, we finally see where wives can have some power over their husbands.
Commander Putnam has a family, a wife, and a new child.
Yes, she came to me herself to testify for her husband.
Yes, what we decide here will affect innocent people.
She came to ask for the harshest possible punishment.
I love that the guy sitting behind Fred leans in way too close. Like, Oh shit, I'm fucking my handmaid too. I hope my wife doesn't know. She could do that to me. Which is, of course, exactly what Fred is thinking. Watch his face. It's awesome. He's realizing, perhaps for the first time, that the guy sitting next to him is not only a true believer and a zealot, but that he's very easily manipulated by those who know their scripture. Like Serena Joy does. This also raises the question for me of what happened after the first Offred killed herself. I imagine some questions were asked and this guy knew what was going on. So why did nothing happen to Commander Waterford then? Serena knew, Nick knew. Maybe he did get mildly punished once before. Maybe that's why he's so scared now. And here's where I put down the popcorn and the junior mints, cause what? I am sorry, but what? I can watch horror, gore. I have seen all the Saw movies. I have seen all the Hostel movies and The Hills Have Eyes. None of that made me gag. But this, well, it's just so much worse. There are no words in this scene. There is hardly any music. It is cold, methodical, and brutal. Cutting off a man's perfectly good arm because that is what we call justice in Gilead. And consider this. Cutting off his arm is not going to do jack to stop him from fucking the next handmaid. Now, you might say, well, he wouldn't get another handmaid. He already has a child, and since handmaids are a scarce resource, one child is probably all you get. But that still leaves other women, and if his problem is lust and he already has a child, why not cut his balls off? And I'm not just being a sadistic man-hating bitch here, I'm really not. I'm being eminently practical. From Gilead's point of view, what does he need them for? He's already done his duty and had a child. Castrating him would make certain he doesn't give in to his lust or temptation again. And hey, isn't that exactly what they did to Ovglen? When she gave in to lust and temptation, they cut off her clit so she wouldn't be tempted, right? So why does this guy get to keep his balls? Now it's my turn to suffer as June pathetically goes and tries to see Nick, but he doesn't want to see her. Too painful, I guess. I'm just glad I'm spared the pain of him. So she does go and see the commander. I love that she doesn't knock. She just walks in. She's making the one move she has to try and protect Hannah. She does have a certain amount of influence and control over the commander after all of this time. But, unfortunately, he has no idea who his wife has become after all of this time.
I'm sure you don't have anything to worry about. Mrs. Waterford would never hurt a child.
You don't know her.
He has had a really bad day today, and to top it off...
Is it mine?
Of course.
You do that so well.
Damn. Wings off to Joseph Fiennes for an outstanding performance. Finally, it's later. We see what's in the package. It's full of notes, like the one June wrote, from dozens and dozens of women.
Whoever is getting this, please don't forget me. We are prisoners. They rape us. They treat us like animals. You have to tell people what's happening here. Please, God.
We hear pieces of their stories and they're all the same. Of trying to escape, being captured, having children taken and being forced into a new life. We hear their names, we hear the names of their families. Dozens and dozens of them. So many women being held captive, being tortured, beaten, and raped. And reaching out for someone, anyone, to save them. Now we go back to Moira, who has been saved, but is a little overwhelmed right now. After years of living under constant threat, constant abuse, and nowhere being safe, she's safe here. No one's going to beat her, or rape her, or electrocute her. She can say what she wants. She can eat what she wants.
Here is your refugee ID card. Cell phone, $470 in cash. Medical insurance card. Prescription drug card.
Here, clothes.
Cash? Clothes? A cell phone? These things are practically alien after all these years. I love the acting from both people here. Moira with her slightly stunned goldfish look, so used to being controlled every second of every day and deliberately not thinking for herself because she's being told what to think. She's out of practice at making her own decisions. Her brain is still warming up and remembering how to do this thing called thinking when she gets hit with the big one.
Do you want more to eat?
I'm okay, I think.
Then shower? Or do you want to just grab a book, find somewhere quiet? Whatever you want, completely up to you.
Total freedom. She can do whatever she wants. No one is gonna tell her what to do here. So what is she gonna do? Serena Joy is once again getting ahead of herself by setting up the baby furniture, and Fred has decided that might be a good time to suck up to her.
I want to apologize. I said some cruel things to you, and I'm very sorry. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us for our
Don't
sins.
do that.
In my mind, he's doing this for only one reason. She could have his hand cut off. He would like that to not happen. That is all. I love that at first she's not falling for it. She seems to have grown, to have made a switch. She doesn't trust him anymore, but he's inconsequential now. She has what she wanted. I love the change in dynamics here. Think back to when they were the ones trying to get pregnant. She was all, let's pray, and he was all, how does this bra unhook? She's still missed let's pray, but she's grown. She's changed. Her faith is not as absolute as it once was. And she won't be easily plied with scripture by him like she once was. But the thing that lets him get to her is that she's dying inside. She is absolutely heartbroken that she's not the one physically having the baby. And of course, Fred knows exactly what to say to her now. Promise her the dream. That soon it'll be just the two of them and the baby. June will be gone and they will at long last be the perfect, happy family. In some more bookending,
There's a salvaging today.
one thing I must say, this is perhaps the most reckless and stupid. Leaving all those notes just strewn about on the floor where anyone could have walked in and seen them. Rita could have come to check on her, Serena Joy could have come to check on her, and we learned she's already been missed.
You're the worst shopping partner ever. Shut up. You shut up.
It's another salvaging, but it's a little different this time. This time it's a stoning. All very biblical and arguably a more brutal death than just being beaten by hands and feet, but it'd be a close call.
Look at you. My special girls. So beautiful.
What's going on?
But something's off here. Aunt Lydia seems to be struggling. The girls are all whispering. They're not used to seeing her like this. What's going on? And then we see exactly what's going on. The person about to be stoned to death is poor, crazy Janine. They're told she's been sentenced to death for endangering a child. But this is too far.
Aunt Lydia, come on, we can't do this.
Off, Glenn! Back to your place!
Seriously? Guys, this is insane.
At first I thought they'd made a misstep here. But then I got it. It makes perfect sense that of all of them, of Glenn 2.0 would be the most unable to handle this. This is her seeing the system turn on itself. And she has bought into that system thinking that it would keep her safe. Remember her backstory of being a junkie and a prostitute, and that she is happy and content with this life, and that she would like to keep it that way. That as long as she is a good girl and follows the rules, life is good. Also remember, only Offred knows what happened on that bridge. To the other girls, this is just Janine. She's a handmaid just like them, and she's just had a baby. She's just done the one thing they are all supposed to do, the one thing that will see them praised and rewarded. Out of all of them, Janine should be untouchable, practically a saint. Now they're told she tried to harm a child and it is their duty to kill her. Kill one of their own. Also remember, only Offred knows what happened on that bridge. To the other girls, this is just Janine. She's a handmaid just like them, and she's just had a baby. She's just done the one thing they are all supposed to do, the one thing that will see them praised and rewarded. Out of all of them, Janine should be untouchable, practically a saint. Now they're told she tried to harm a child and it is their duty to kill her. Kill one of their own. By their very training and programming, their government programming, that they are a special group of girls, that they have a higher purpose and a sacred duty to bring new life into this world. Through that bond, they could never hurt each other. Even in a society of broken people, this is too far. In a government that has and does so effectively use psychology and brainwashing, I find it shocking that they didn't see this coming. Which makes me think they did. Consider a few things. Let's start with the response to the initial no. Hovglen 2.0 gets a rifle butt to the face. She is bloody, half-conscious, and spitting teeth as she's dragged away. That seems an overreaction even for Gilead, unless they knew there would be resistance to this, and they planned for it. A brutal show of force to beat these women back into submission and make them do what we want. Also, keep in mind, they don't have to execute Janine this way. They could have just shot her and burned her body. They could have sent her to the colonies. They could hang her in a parking lot somewhere and no one would ever know. But that's the point. For people to know. Especially for the handmaids to know. That they are never safe. That one of them can just as easily find themselves in the middle of that circle like anybody else. And further to my point, Janine is in full handmaid's regalia. She's not dressed as a prisoner. There's no bag over her head so you can't tell who it is. They want the handmaids to know that this is one of them and to submit to the state and kill her anyway. A public show that those in power have complete and utter control over all of them. And they won't be getting that today.
I'm sorry, Aunt Lydia.
For now, they're sent home and warned that there will be consequences. The camera work and the directing on the walk home is great. It really is. Offred marching down the center of the street like the head of the army. This is where I think that line should have been, by the way. I also think this could have been the act out for the season. Just have them walk down the street and right into the camera, cut to black. Would have been a strong ender. The one thing I don't like about the walk home is that Offred is the only one wearing a scarf. I know it's to make her stand out in the crowd, but it makes her stand out in the crowd, and that's the exact wrong thing to do here. She's already walking by herself in the center, at the head, with a smug expression on her face. You didn't need the scarf to make us notice her. We get one last scene with Moira, and like I said in my review of The Other Side, this is one of the 3 scenes where Luke is actually useful to the story. But his character is still nothing but promise to come. He could still be written out and nothing would change. And as predicted, there are consequences. She knows she should be scared, but she's not. She's made a choice here, and she's decided to accept the consequences, whatever they may be. Now, you could look at this as a form of committing suicide. With none of the usual methods available, pissing off the state will definitely get it done.
We said no.
keep in mind, she does not want to bring a child into this house, and she has had just about enough of life in Gilead. She does not want to see herself go through what Janine did in Birthday, and what Janine did that led her to that bridge. She doesn't want to have to give up a child to these people. So maybe getting shot as a traitor or a rebel is a better idea. Now, this last scene is lifted almost directly from the book with one very noticeable change. In Nick's dialogue on the show, he says, "Just go with them, trust me." In the book, he says one additional word, Mayday. Because, spoilers, in the book, Nick is a member of Mayday, though he doesn't appear to be in the show. That is how the book ends. That's how she gets out. Nick smuggles her out through Mayday, and it ends with her waiting in Canada for him to come and find her. But, hey, we're a TV show, we want to get some more seasons out of it, so we'll just delete that one word and, we'll find a way to fix this next season. And I'm sure we'll see her back with the Waterfords soon. On her way out of the house, she gets one last little thing. She hugs Rita goodbye and tells her about the package, which Rita runs and finds. Now I'm really wondering if Rita is working for Mayday. It would make sense. She lost a son in the war. It would make sense that she would want to take up the cause in his memory, to have his death not be for nothing. And she is in a prime position to gather information. She hears everything that goes on in that house, and goes unnoticed most of the time. We will definitely be seeing more of her as, spoilers, she's been up to series reg for season 2. So there you have it. Season 1 is over and done, oh so sadly. But before I wrap up, made me laugh? Definitely goes to watching how uncomfortable Commander Waterford is when sentence is being passed on Commander Putnam for the exact same thing that he is guilty of. Could not get enough of it. You go, girl. We have multiple winners this time, including one I never thought would happen. Yep, it's Serena Joy for telling off her husband over what a douchebag he is. Secondly, for Of Glen 2.0 being the first to speak against stoning Janine. We also have one for June, I'm sorry, Aunt Lydia, and an official You Go Girl to each and every other handmaid there. And last but not least, for Rita, taking possession of the package. I can't wait to see what she does with it. Nitpick. If you watch the background as the handmaids walk home triumphant in the We Are an Army scene, you can see the background of the neighborhood changes drastically one shot to the next. And I have no idea why. They could have kept it in the neighborhood with the houses and just cut the scene like 1 second earlier and you wouldn't have this problem. Instead, for some reason, there's like 2 seconds at the end where the background is a completely different city, completely different kind of neighborhood. The colors are completely different. It's so blaringly obvious. I have no idea why they did this. Ironic feminist, Aunt Lydia, for her balance of sympathy, empathy, genuine care for her girls, and at the same time a willingness to let them be stoned to death and call it a sacred duty. I want so much more of this character. Dick of the episode? Once again, we have multiple winners. First, the Commander for his blaming of Serena Joy for his sins and crimes and his usual level of being a dick. Second, for Price being a holier-than-thou dick who's also very easily manipulated. And third, for the Guardian that knocks Of Glen 2.0's teeth out when she won't throw the rock. That's just overkill. Let's check in with where we're leaving everyone. Luke and Moira are now together. I am so glad Moira is out of Gilead. In a way, she's back in the action now. She's an active character again. She can have impact on the story somehow. It also gives us a new location. We'll be seeing more of Canada and Little America and Mystery Girl. That'll be awesome. I will be interested to see if Moira gets involved with some kind of resistance from Canada, if she gets involved with the Mayday that is over there. That would be very cool. I want to see her and Luke get into it, because she's definitely got to tell him off at some point and be like, how could you leave June? How could you leave Hannah? How could you leave me? How could you just run off and leave us for 3 years? You know, she's got to go off on him at some point, and that's going to be really good. Also, she knows about Jezebel's and seeing June there and June and the commander. So does she tell Luke? Does she lie? That's going to be an interesting conversation. As to Luke, I'm not sure if saving his character was a good idea still, because everything I just said about Moira, except for the, does she tell him part, you could have all that still. You could still have all that aspect to Moira and Canada and Little America and all that, and the Resistance, and that would all still be the same if the character of Luke was still dead as he is in the book. I'm not saying it was necessarily wrong to save the character, but as I've made clear before, I felt that they didn't make good enough use of him in this season to justify it. So I'm really hoping that in season 2, his character has a reason to exist by the end of it. So that would be nice. From the camp of the unknowns, we got a lot of people over here. We have original of Glenn / Emily. Her fate is unknown, but as far as we know, she is alive. She was taken alive. We have not seen her brought before salvaging, but we haven't seen her at all, so I don't know. But hopefully we will see her back. Also, Janine, yes, she is under sentence of death, but she is still alive as of the end of the season. And, maybe, I remember this really obscure fact, that there was a guy once somewhere a long time ago, and he was sentenced to death, and the sentence wound up being, commuted by divine intervention. And that is how it's recorded legally, because what happened was they tried to hang this guy and the rope broke and he landed on the ground perfectly fine. And then they tried to hang him a second time and the rope stretched so much that his feet touched the ground and he lived. After that, the courts took it as a sign from God that they were not to execute this man, and they commuted the sentence. So I'm curious to see if Gilead has something like that, because they do say that the handmaids are divine, that it is their sacred duty to carry out God's justice. So if the handmaids, as the vessels, as the representatives of God's will, as you have just said that they are, Gilead, brilliant thinking fucking there, can they, as a group, decide that we will grant our mercy as these divine vessels, these representatives of God and His will and His justice and mercy? Can we state that we forgive her, that we pardon her, that God does not wish for her death? I hope there's an answer to this in the show. I really want to see what happens with Janine, of course, what happens with Offred, and all of the other handmaids, and what is Gilead's response to this act of rebellion gonna be? They told them to jump and they didn't jump. So what are they gonna do? They got problems. But we'll get more on that with other characters. Fred and Serena Joy. They might hate each other a whole lot, but neither of them seem to be in danger just now. They both have things on the other, but they don't seem to be actively taking shots at each other just now. They were preparing for a baby, which kind of puts a truce on everything, and that's going to be the focus. So, it'll be very interesting to see where the two of them wind up. Will June spill anything if she's interrogated, if she's asked questions? Their one commander, Price, of course, does know what's going on. Nick is aware of what's going on. Will she be asked about that? Will she lie? That'll be interesting. Fred could be in some trouble. I don't know. And Serena Joy, of course, has threatened a child. There are people who know. She had plenty of guardians with her. Her husband's been told. So, yeah, they've got dirt on each other. So, next season, it'll be interesting to see what the war between those two comes to. And, do they both survive? Of Glenn 2.0, sad to say, she is seriously hurt. Girl is going to need, some reconstructive surgery, or her jaw's going to be wired shut or something. But she is alive. She was taken away, but she is alive, so maybe we'll see her again. I don't know. I kind of hope we do, She doesn't get a lot of lines, but the lines she has are good, so I wouldn't mind her return and seeing what this encounter has done to her and her views on things. Rita, of course, Rita. Okay, in case you didn't hear me the first time, spoilers, she's been bumped to series reg for season 2. Looking forward to that. I put strong weight in my theory that she's a member of the Resistance or Mayday in some way. that those notes are going to get where they belong. We're definitely going to see them and her again. And I, for one, can't wait because I think the actress definitely has serious chops and she did not get enough of an opportunity to show that this season. So I hope she really gets some development in season 2. And last but certainly not least, Offred / June Osborne. This, well, it goes without saying, she's going to be back. She's the main star of the show, and it's been picked up for season 2. So let's just accept the fact that, yes, she'll be returning. There's no suspense in that. And you don't really need it because there's other suspense, which is, how are they going to get her back? And I, for one, say it's got to be the baby. The baby is their out. It's their, magic cure-all. It's how they get out of the corner they've written themselves into by basically following how the book does end. The baby changes everything. The baby saves her. They can't hurt her while she's pregnant. Remember, when Aunt Lydia was electrocuting her in the living room for finishing the scripture on Blessed Are the Meek, and when Aunt Lydia is electrocuting her and Serena Joy runs in and screams, she's pregnant. Remember Aunt Lydia's face? The shock, the horror, the turning away, the oh God, what have I done expression? You can't hurt a pregnant woman in Gilead. Even the government can't touch her. And that's going to be the out, but it's how are they going to handle it? Is she placed on some kind of a probation until she gives birth? Is punishment and judgment simply delayed until after the baby arrives? Do they make some kind of a deal where as long as the baby arrives happy and healthy, they'll take that as a sign that God forgives her? Will she be allowed to live with the Waterfords until she hands over the baby? That would keep them in the show. Pretty much the only thing they can do. But my point is, they have outs, and I do think there are ways in which she can get out of trouble. Commander Waterford can certainly make an impassioned plea on her behalf of, she just found out that she's carrying life on the same day you ask her to snuff out another life in a cruel manner, and you ask this kind-hearted, devout person to kill one of their own, another handmaid. Maybe we ask too much of them. Maybe we should show mercy. I can see him pulling a soapbox move, and I want to see it. I really do. They could also do, the baby hormones made her crazy, but I don't think this is a world that acknowledges things like that. But they do have outs, and not just script magic. It exists because I wrote it outs. There are legit built into the system, if you've been paying attention, possible outs of how they get things back to where they need to be and where they need their characters back to being. And they can do it without really screwing up and without cheating, is what I'm saying. So I really hope that they do. I hope they set up season 2 to be just as strong and just as great as this season has been. And I, for one, will be absolutely counting the days, marking the calendar until I get to see more of this amazing show. Until next season, keep your wings starched and your shit together. I am InsaneLayne, and I shall return for season 2. Blessed be, bitches. Bye-bye.